you're saying that there are staying sires out there, and you know you can go.
But not as many as there used to be because everyone's buying speed size.
The point is you can't identify which one of those is going to stay. That's the key, because even Lloyd Williams, who goes and buys just about every.
Well, he's the smartest owner.
Yeah, but he goes out and buys 30, 40 Zabiels every year. Of course, some of them are going to hit the mark and he's going to win some races with it, but it's just sheer volume. If he had the resources of most people and can only buy 1 or 2 horses, he wouldn't be having the same success.
I think every aspect of the game is a numbers game, and it's volume. I don't think there's any more of an example in the staying side of things. And we can all say that we've got the keys to success in the commercial side of the industry, but the reality is no one has the answer. No one has the right.
But there's more key indicators, Matthew.
But you can still have a horse that has all the key indicators and it's an abysmal failure.
Yes.
So that should throw everything out the window.
Well,
there are ways to minimise the risk and to play the percentages.
It's very hard to identify a stayer. I'm telling you,
it's just as hard to identify a sprinter, and I'll tell you why. Because out of the top 20 or 30 yearlings that go through Easter or Magic, or throughout Australia, the top priced yearlings, how many actually of them turn out to be a good horse?
Yeah, but how many of them are genuine deals?
Irrespective. We're going on to a different track. We're talking about these people who go paying $1 million, $2 million, $3 million for a precocious racehorse that has a potential to go to stud. I'll bet you, if we did our research and come back with a list of those horses and what have they done,
of course it'll be like that.
Massive failures,
of
right?
Course it will.
And they've been trying to identify precocious horses who are going to go to stud, and they still haven't been capable of doing so.
What is your answer to making people embrace staying bred?
I'm not talking staying bred in particular. I'm talking about breeds that go on and race on.
What's your answer?
And at the moment, we seem to be breeding that way.
It's not just breeding as well, though. It's also training. You know, there's a lot to it. When at the start I said there are a number of different things. It's also the way we train them. We've got owners who are pushing their trainers to push their horses to find out earlier. You know, when we had a much greater depth in our weight for age racing was when we had horses that were at that level that weren't really tested that much as 2-year-olds. You know, gone are the days when we had these horses
the pressure's off the trainers.
Remember those horses like Toledo, Natois?
Okay, let's go through some of those.
In new markets and open plates year after year. Okay. Those horses didn't run as 2-year-olds.
They had the constitution to do so.
Yeah, but they didn't run as 2-year-olds either. Those were horses that were Toledo did, but I don't think Natois did. Those were the sort of horses that were given the time to mature.
Okay, just one last thing. I do want to go through a list of horses I made up over the past 10, 20 years that have been our either champions or outstanding performers, right?
Yep.
And let's just see who they'll buy. Doremus.
Norman Pentecourt.
Norman Pentecourt. No one's ever heard of Norman. Varro, champion racehorse. Ivor Prince. All right. Better loosen up.
Loosen up.
Bush horse. All right. Okay. Superimposed by Imposing. Wasn't really that commercial. Right. We had Mackay Diva by Desert King. Right. Another stone type. Let's Elope. Well, okay, no support. He was, I guess, a bit more commercial than some of the others. Ethereal.
Rhythm.
She was one of the best mares to ever race in Australia. Yeah, but again, she was by Rhythm, staying type, right? And this is a horse that won the Melbourne Cup.
I prefer to say she was out of Romney Conti than say she was by Rhythm.
Rhythm. But Romney Conti had other opportunities to produce great horses, but she only did it with Rhythm. Okay. Now we had Sunline, who's by Desert Sun.
Yep.
Okay.
Not a bad stone.
Yes, but you know.
Not super commercial.
Not exactly. All right. Northerly, Shahid. Okay.
He's a good
Bone Crusher, Pagasa. I mean, yeah, okay. My Rough Habit.
But what's the point?
Rough Cast.
What's the point?
The point is, in years gone by, when all these champions that we've produced over the years weren't by precocious commercial stallions. And this is why we are now losing the battle to produce this quality of horse and this depth of racing, because we don't have many more mates.
Those stallions are still there. They're still going to come out.
But they're not coming out, and less and less frequently they're coming out. You name to me 3 or 4 champion weight for age horses we've had racing in the past 12 months.
Well, we haven't had. We've definitely over the last couple of years.
Since the retirements of horses like Northerly, Sunline, Lonhro, Grand Army, to a lesser extent horses like Starcraft and Private Steer that was making her mark, but other horses are competing at that level.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 years, we've just had the massive black hole in our weight for age.
There is no doubt there has been a diminishment of staying bred lines across the world since the globalising of the thoroughbred industry. There's no doubt that that's happened. my point is...
One other thing I will say, because one thing you mentioned was that the bigger studs aren't to blame. I think to a certain extent they are. I think the fact that they're, I guess, not permitted, I don't know what the word is, but the fact that they continually, year after year, bring out some of the greatest rubbish that has ever gone to stud in the world at their lower end of the scale, and encourage some of the smaller breeders in particular to send their mares to them and offer some great attractive deals with all the bells and whistles.
That's the issue, the deals.
And also, I guess you and I both know, put together deals that say if you want to go to this big stallion, you need to send about 3 or 4 to this small stallion. That's an absolute disaster for this breeding industry. If we continue to have our mares going to some of the rubbish that run second in average races overseas.
It's participants within the industry. So you might have, there's several organisations that are operating in Australia at the moment that are not operating under commercial terms at all, and they're clearly just trying to garner market share and destroy competition. Now, I agree with you, there are inducements being made to some people which are not commercial and are just geared to get their business. And those people are making decisions which are influenced by these bonuses and by what the farms are offering. Now, I think that is a bit damaging. However, with most breeders, it's caveat emptor. It's sort of you have your own mind. You make your own decision. Nobody has a gun to your head when you make a decision. So the breeders are making their own calls. Now, whether it's that they're attracted by big glossy magazines or DVDs or whatever it is, they make the call. There's no one that's forcing them, and there's no inducements other than time for their money that are being given to people to make those calls. It's just financials. People are taking these deals because it's less of a burden on them. And racing is an entertainment industry, and we're going through a tough economic time. And during those periods, the first thing that suffer are things like racing and entertainment industries. So that's a big part of it.
I understand that, Sean, but it's still, I mean, these people that are suffering are going out and paid 30 yearlings over $1 million in Easter.
But they're the ones that have the resources to want to take that punt, Arvo. They're prepared to take that punt to try to get the Sebring, to try to get the Murrays, to try to get that $20, $30 million horse. And those horses have enough pedigree, particularly the fillies. The fillies have residual value. So those horses, any filly that's bought with a pedigree, even if it doesn't perform in the racetrack, there's a very good chance that you'll be able to, at the top end of the market, get your money back in subsequent years. With colts, it is a big punt to take, and you need to have considerations now that in the current landscape, a horse needs to be a Group 1 or Group 2 performer to get an opportunity at stud. Really needs to be a Group 1 winner. If it's not...
But doesn't that highlight the stupidity of the investment that goes into finding that horse that does become that Group 1 winner and combines the...
What it goes into, Matthew, is that some of the prices that were paid by some of these outfits for stallions has been obscene, and there's a ripple effect onto the yearling market and to every aspect of the breeding and racing markets. And because there was too much paid for some of these horses, expectations of owners becomes unrealistic. They see a Group 3 winner being sold for $9 million, so when they have a Group 3 winner, they think it's worth $9 million. And what it does is it sets artificial guidelines, and it makes it very difficult to make deals work, because you've got horses that they've paid too much for, the return on investment's no good, and it just goes, then that leads to corruption at yearling sales and all the rest of it. So for mine, it's the acquisition costs or prices of some of these horses, which has had a huge bearing on our market over the last few years. And that's been, to me, the biggest problem that we've had, is that they've been paying uncommercial money because they can on some of these horses.
All right, well, I think we've enough said about this for the time being. Don't know what the answer is. I really would like to see staying horses or later breeding horses get more of an opportunity by owners and trainers. So, you know, our weight for age stars don't go missing like they have over the past couple of years. But anyway, we can argue this point for, I guess, or talk about this point for another hour, and we won't resolve the issue. So I hope it was entertaining and you enjoyed it. So until next week.
What about horses to follow?
Yep.